You did support his move to end those negotiations. Why did you support that, and what do you think about today's offer from the White House?
Well, the pendulum keeps swinging back and forth almost every hour about whether they're going to get this deal done or not, Greta. And right now, it looks like that they're very close. I mean, Trump says 1.8 trillion. The Democrats are saying 2.1 trillion. You know, these are huge numbers, by the way. I mean, with $2 trillion, as I mentioned in the Wall Street Journal on Wednesday, you could completely eliminate the personal and corporate income tax for a year, which obviously would do a lot more good for the economy than all of these giveaway programs and bailouts. But I would put the odds right now at just about 50-50 that they're going to get a deal. Nancy Pelosi may feel, well, why do a deal before the election at this point? You know, we're only 3 or 4 weeks away from the election. So just hard to predict, but you are so right, Greta, that Wall Street really wants a deal. They are addicted to this cheap money and this government borrowing.
Now, Pelosi, of course, has been pushing hard for bailouts for blue states in her stimulus package. President Trump doesn't like that, and she has refused, rather, to fully open the economies in those states. Those states have not been opening them during this pandemic. Should those states be moving forward on opening instead of trying to rely on federal aid at this point?
Is that a great point? I couldn't agree with you more. You know, you want to get the economy moving faster. By the way, the economy is doing really well right now. It's you know, we saw 33% growth in the third quarter of GDP. That's like the all-time record by fivefold in terms of the recovery. We got the unemployment rate down below 8%. None of the experts thought we would be anywhere near that by now. We're seeing an increase in consumer confidence, investor confidence. So you could make a strong case right now. We don't need another big government debt bomb to try to stimulate the economy. But you're right. The big holdup has been $400 billion that Nancy Pelosi wants for the blue states of Illinois and California and Connecticut and New Jersey and, of course, New York. And those states are facing bankruptcy because they've shut down their businesses. In fact, just the other day, New York ordered more shutdowns for their businesses, while you've got about 15 states in the country that are pretty much all open for business, and those tend to be the states with Republican governors.
Election day is, of course, quickly approaching at this point. One key difference between the two candidates on the ticket, President Trump and Joe Biden, are their tax plans. How would Biden's plan to raise taxes on both individuals and corporations impact the U.S. economy?
Very negatively. I think it is an extremely radical program that would raise taxes on capital gains. It would raise taxes on American corporations to the benefit of all the corporations that we compete with. It would raise the death tax. It would raise income tax rates and payroll taxes from a high of right now 36% to 51%. 51%. We've never seen that since the 1970s. I believe that it would be extremely negative. And by the way, for shareholders, for investors, this is an investment show that you have, Greta. And the people who get hammered the most are people who actually have ownership in these companies. If the government takes a bigger share of the company, that means that the shareholders, and that's all of us, 120 or 30 million people who have 401k plans or retirement plans, will see a lot of that money taken away by the government taxes.
You mentioned investors, and I do want to note, when President Trump got diagnosed with COVID-19 last week, we saw a really big dip in the market really quickly. Do you think that is, kind of a foreshadowing for what we could see if Joe Biden were to win in November?
Right now, there's no evidence that the market really cares that much about who's going to win, because what the market runs up and down on right now is obviously the news about the virus, but also the news of the stimulus. So these big investors are mostly just addicted to this cheap money. I do think that if it was November 4th and Joe Biden had won, and especially if it's a Democratic sweep, I think you'd see a very, very massive sell-off in stocks. Just as, by the way, last 4 years ago, remember when in the surprise victory for Trump, remember the stock market went up by 700 or 800 points the next day. So, look, I think just from a pro-business standpoint, it's pretty clear that Donald Trump is much better for the economy. By the way, most voters agree with that. They may not like Donald Trump, but they do agree that his plan for the economy is much better than the one that Biden has put together.
You're right. A Gallup poll out yesterday said 56% of voters say they're better off economically now than they were 4 years ago. All right, economist Stephen Moore there joining us to this.
How about that? I mean, we've just lived through a pandemic. 9 months of an economy that's gotten crushed, and people are still saying they're better off than they were 4 years ago. That gives you a sense of how well Trump's policies have worked.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One America News on YouTube, and call your cable provider and kindly demand that One America News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.